This is the CBS Sunday Night News with Russ Mitchell.
Good evening, I'm Jacqueline Adams, sitting in tonight for Russ Mitchell. After a frustrating 18-day search of the Colorado Rockies, Air Force officials think they have finally spotted wreckage from the missing A-10 Thunderbolt aircraft. So far, though, there is no sign of the pilot. Correspondent Diana Olick has more.
Familiar with
Air Force officials say an Army National Guard helicopter was the first to spot what rescue crews have been looking for nearly 3 weeks, metal protruding from the snow.
It is our collective judgment that what we have seen is likely to be A-10 aircraft pieces.
But the pieces are on a steep slope on the north side of New York Mountain, and with heavy cloud cover and the threat of more snow, ground crews are unable to get in to confirm the sighting. Officials have sent an A-10 pilot out by air to view the wreckage, and he agrees it looks like the missing bomber.
That distinctive yellowish, greenish paint that you use to prevent corrosion is underneath the gray paint. So it looks to us military, looks to us consistent with A-10.
Rescue crews have been searching the New York Mountain area since April 2nd, when the pilot, Captain Craig Button, left formation during a training mission over Arizona and flew toward the Colorado Rockies. Several witnesses from the ground saw smoke or bright glows in the New York Mountain area, and others heard an explosion. Officials are still unsure as to when they can get ground crews to the area.
There is no way to get there easily.
Officials have no information yet as to whether or not Captain Button is with the apparent wreckage. Diana Olick, CBS News, Dallas.
Floodwater, mud, and now fire have devastated sections of Grand Forks, North Dakota. More than 70% of the city is underwater. And on Monday, the Red River is expected to crest at 54 feet, 26 feet above flood stage. Frank Currier is there.
Here's what's left of downtown Grand Forks this evening. A fire that broke out yesterday and swept through 11 buildings in a 4-block area is now contained. This afternoon, firefighters struggled with it the only way they could, from the air.
We can't fight this one. Everything is gone. It's just gone.
National Guard troops today went door to door, rescuing what few townspeople were still trapped in their homes by high waters. For those who've been fighting the Red River since dikes gave way Friday night, the worst still may not be over.
There is always a potential for a larger portion of the city to be flooded. The river is still rising.
With 3,000 evacuees seeking shelter at the nearby Air Force Base, many worshipped at a chapel fashioned from a racquetball court. Officials are urging any other residents who've considered riding out this flood to leave.
Walk away from those homes, walk away from those buildings. We will rebuild, and we will be stronger, and we will be in it together.
The surging Red River here is approaching 54 feet, an unheard of 26 feet above flood stage, an historic record high not even approached in this part of the country.
You have to see this to believe it. It is beyond anything any of us have experienced, the most devastating disaster North Dakota has ever been hit with.
A 24-hour curfew remains in force. With the water treatment plant down and all drinking water here contaminated, the 30,000 evacuees in Grand Forks have been advised they may not return home for at least 2 weeks. Frank Currier, CBS News, Grand Forks, North Dakota.
Still ahead on the CBS Sunday Night News, no indictment, but still lots of trouble for Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu.
All this time, if only I'd known how good Advil really is. Look, when I work, I move. The other day, everything stopped. I took Tylenol. Didn't get rid of all the pain. Then my daughter Amy got hold of me. She's a doctor, you know. She told me I should try using Advil. She said 2 Advil handle tough pain better than any 2 extra-strength Tylenol. I know about Advil now, and I know it just works better.
And for a cold, try Advil Cold and Sinus. It's tough on colds like Advil is on pain.
Were things any easier for him? Was providing for a family simpler back then? Now there's so much information, decisions are tougher. Strange. I grew up not wanting to walk in his footsteps. Now I only wish I could.
Things are more complex. Ask a Merrill Lynch financial consultant who can help with a plan and more ways to make the plan work than anyone else. The difference is planning. The difference is Merrill Lynch.
Something's happening at CBS and everybody's talking. Martha Stewart, the only ingredient you need to inspire any home. Martha Stewart, only on This Morning on CBS.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu dodged disaster today when prosecutors decided not to indict him in a political scandal. But he's not out of the woods by any means, as we hear from Bob Simon.
After a 3-month investigation, Israel's police recommended that Netanyahu be indicted for fraud and breach of public trust in a conspiracy to appoint a political crony to his cabinet. The Attorney General said tonight that Netanyahu's actions raised puzzling questions. There's suspicion, he said, that there were other than legitimate considerations in the appointment, but none that can be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. The Prime Minister jumped on national television right after the decision, admitting he made mistakes, but saying, "The bottom line is this: I committed no crime, and the Attorney General confirmed this." The political opposition had a slightly different read.
I do not see any way to clear the situation but to call upon the Prime Minister to resign, give the mandate back to the public, and let the public elect a Prime Minister that can be trusted.
Netanyahu is simply not going to do that. Had he been indicted, it's likely that Israel's parliament would have simply voted him out of office. There will still be moves to do that. There will also be moves to have the Supreme Court reconsider the Attorney General's decision not to indict, but these things will take time, which means that Netanyahu will stay in office for at least the foreseeable future. Bob Simon, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
In Washington, the Senate votes Thursday on whether to ratify the chemical weapons treaty strongly backed by President Clinton. The vote is too close to call, and Mr. Clinton sent 2 top cabinet members today to argue his case.
We're the ones who initiated this. We're the ones who said, let's get rid of chemical weapons. We're the ones who started the negotiations and signed the treaty.
It would be a very sad day for the United States if this treaty goes down.
But Senate Republican leader Trent Lott, whose vote could be crucial, says he